Game Hacking 104 of the 100 series. In this video, we'll take our first look at scanning for values that don't have numbers we can see associated with them. But before we begin, if you start getting lost at any point in this video, I suggest you go back and watch the videos in green first. And here's a link for that. And alright, I'll be showing you how to do this in Cheat Engine using Nioh, but you can use the same techniques in many other games as well. But okay, with the game loaded and Cheat Engine attached to it, let's take a closer look at player health and stamina, which are represented by these green and blue status bars. So I'll choose stamina to scan first, and over in Cheat Engine, let's take a look at the scan type. In the last few videos, we've been leaving it as the default, which is exact value, but since we don't see the exact value of health or stamina, we'll need to click the drop down and choose a different scan type. I'll go with unknown initial value since there are no numbers at all on the screen. And we could run the scan with the value type set to all, but this will yield a lot more results and make the scans take longer. If you're not sure what the value type is, you may have to do this, but I'll change the value type to float and start a new scan, since I know that stamina in this game is a float value. And once the first scan is done, if we click the scan type drop down again, we get some new options. And I'll be using these three options to find both stamina and health. And since my stamina is currently full, I'll start with decreased value, then lower stamina in the game, then I'll pause the game, and then run the scan. And I've still got a lot of results left, so let's unpause the game, let stamina refill, and then run an increased value scan. And that narrows down the results a bit more, and if I scroll down a bit, we can see some of these values are red. And this is Cheat Engine telling us that these values have changed since the last time we ran a scan. But my stamina was completely full when I ran the increased value scan, so the stamina value isn't going to be changing again until I decrease it in the game. So what I can do now is change the scan type to unchanged value, and again I'm doing that because we know stamina shouldn't be changing until I use some of it in the game, and then I'll run a few scans to continue whittling down the results. But alright, going back and forth between the game and Cheat Engine and clicking the drop down to change a scan type each time I want to do a new scan is kind of annoying and just not very efficient. So I'll use a few hotkeys to make this a lot faster and easier for me for the rest of the video, and if you're not sure how to set up your hotkeys, you can just go to Edit, Settings, then Hotkeys, and then assign your hotkeys here. And alright, back in the game, I'll decrease stamina, and using my hotkeys this time, I'll pause the game and then run a decreased value scan. And now I'll unpause the game, let stamina get back to full, and then run an increased value scan. And I'll run around in the game a bit and do some things that don't affect stamina while running some unchanged value scans. And we do see the results continue to get whittled down a bit, but to really narrow this down now, I'll get stamina all the way down, then I'll pause the game, run a decreased value scan, and then I'll run a few increased value scans as the stamina is refilling, which gets us down to just 3 results. Now, all 3 of these are probably related to stamina in some way, but only one of them will make a real change to stamina. So I'll add all 3 to the address list, and then I'll change each one to 0 and see what happens in the game. And it looks like the top one is the one we're after. So I'll freeze it, and let's see if that keeps it from decreasing in the game. And it does. So we can start scanning for health using the same basic techniques we just used to find stamina. But health in this game is a 4-byte value, so let's scan that as the value type and run the first scan. And again, you can always set the value type to all if you don't know which value type to choose. And alright, I'll head over to an enemy to make some changes to the health value. And okay, I'll pause the game and run a decreased value scan, then I'll block so my health doesn't decrease and run a few unchanged value scans. And alright, let's take another hit, pause the game, then decrease value scan, hold block, and then run some more unchanged value scans. And then I'll just keep repeating these steps a few times while keeping an eye on the results. And oh damn, I died. Now normally if you die you might need to start the scan all over again, but luckily in this game the health address doesn't change when you die, so I can actually just wait until I respawn with full health and then run an increased value scan. And now while running back to the enemy I'll just run a few unchanged value scans, and oh wait, I see we're down over on 20 results, so let's take a closer look at the list here and add the values that seem to make the most sense for health to the address list. And now like usual, let's start changing values and see what happens in the game. And right away it looks like this one might be the one we need. So I'll increase it, freeze it, and then go test it. And it looks like we found the right address. Now I do want to point out a few quick things. First, I increase health to a much higher number to make sure that I don't die. And I did that because when you freeze a value it's not technically frozen. The game changes it like normal, but Cheat Engine just changes it back to the frozen value very quickly. And if an enemy hits you for more damage than your current health, chances are you'll still die. And the second thing is, game values don't always increase and decrease as the game shows on the screen. For example, in Sekiro I have the address for posture here, which is supposed to limit how many times we can block before an enemy can break through our defense. And if I unfreeze the value in the address list, notice that as we take hits the posture value is decreasing, but in the game it looks like it's actually increasing. So if you try to do the scans one way and it doesn't seem to be finding the value, try doing the reverse of that and see if that works for you better. But alright, either way, keep in mind that in most games the addresses that we just worked so hard to find very rarely stay the same after you close the game, and the next time you fire it up you'd need to rescan for the values all over again. Unless you use some of the more advanced features in Cheat Engine to automatically find the new addresses for you every time you open the game. And in Game Hacking 105, I'll show you one pretty simple way to do this. So be sure to subscribe, hit the bell, and turn on YouTube notifications so you don't miss it. And as always, thanks for watching. See you next time.